everybody! Today we are going to use what we have been learning about parallel and perpendicular lines to make a piece of abstract line art. This project is inspired by the work of Dutch artist Piet Mondrian. In previous year's classes and with Miss Ellen, you may have done some artwork inspired by this artist. He uses lines and bold colors, and a lot of those lines are parallel and perpendicular, which has been our focus in geometry. Here's an example of one of his pieces. Notice there are some lines that are parallel to each other, other lines that intersect and are perpendicular, and he leaves some blank spaces, and he also colors in some of these shapes that are created by his intersecting lines. He also has these bold black lines that go over the different line segments that he's using. So those are elements we want to keep in mind when we're creating our abstract line art today. The materials that you need to gather before you get started are a piece of paper, a pencil, a ruler, or a straight edge. So if you don't have a ruler, you could use a piece of thick paper or a book, something that has a straight edge that you could use to support you with drawing a straight line. You also need a black marker or a pen. A black Sharpie works really well for this. And lastly, you need some coloring materials. Anything you have, crayons, markers, colored pencils, etc. This is a pretty open-ended piece, but there are some requirements. Within your line art, you need to have at least 5 sets of parallel lines and 5 sets of perpendicular lines. Let me show you the first step. So step 1 is going to be to draw your lines in pencil, and here's where you want to make sure that you have your 5 sets of parallel and 5 sets of perpendicular lines. You'll get your ruler or straight edge, a pencil, and a piece of paper, and you'll just start by drawing lines where you would like them. I kind of like to have lines heavily weighted on either side. So I'm going to draw some lines here. So there's one set of parallel lines. I like to leave some space in between my lines as well to mix it up so that it doesn't look totally uniform. So I'm going to add one line over here and maybe a line a little bit farther over. So now I have 2 sets of parallel lines. I would start by doing parallel lines first and then adding your perpendicular. So here's how I could add a perpendicular line going all the way across, and I can do one that crosses both of these sets of parallel lines. So now I have a set of perpendicular lines here, 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 and here, but it's also nice to mix it up to create more sizes of quadrilaterals with our line segments. So you might want to have some perpendicular lines that don't cross all of your parallel lines. When you're done with step 1, you will have something that looks like this. So you're going to draw lines in pencil, and it's going to look different than my example, but you do want to make sure at this step, before you move on to step 2, that you have at least 5 sets of parallel and perpendicular lines, and that you like the general layout. Once I thought I was done, I looked and things seemed a little unbalanced, so I added a few more line segments to balance it out. So make sure that this is the template that you would like to use before you move on to steps 2 and 3. Step 2 is to go over your lines in marker. So I used a Sharpie. It gives you nice bold black lines. Use your ruler at this stage as well so that your lines stay straight. Once all of your lines are gone over in Sharpie, you can color in the different quadrilaterals that are created using the coloring material of your choice. And your final product should look something like this. Use colors that you would like, and it's up to you the balance that you choose between colored in quadrilaterals and blank quadrilaterals. You could also use a different color piece of paper to start with, but Piet Mondrian's backgrounds tend to be white with bold colors laid on top. Once you're done, you will have created an abstract piece of line art that represents both parallel and perpendicular lines.